This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Sorry I was late. I was at a lunch with Brian Cashman, Blake Snell, Aaron Judge, and Garrett Cole to figure out who approved whose new contract, who was down with it, who wasn't. What a week. The New York Yankees need pitching. They needed pitching when we left before the new year. They need pitching now. The only issue is now we know how much Frankie Montas cost. Remember when he was our backup option? He got $16 million to pitch for the Cincinnati Reds next year, coming off an inning with the New York Yankees in 2023. An inning, one inning of baseball. That's the guy who's getting $16 million of guaranteed money. That's more than Luis Severino got and his tipped pitches. That's Lucas Giolito, $19.5 million for 1 year guaranteed with an option tacked on to the end of it. I don't want to do that, but if you tell me we got to the end of the offseason and the Yankees didn't add any pitching, or they subtracted Gleyber Torres and traded him to the Marlins for Edward Cabrera, which is still floating, or they traded Jim Bowden's package for Dylan Cease, then yeah, I actually would be angry that they did not go ahead and get Lucas Giolito, an innings eater who I don't think is very good, at a salary I wouldn't pay, but again, is exactly what this team needs if they're going to get no one. You need competence. Do you need Jordan Montgomery? I'd take him. Are they going to get him? Doesn't really sound like it, even though they'd like to. Are they going to get Blake Snell? Suddenly that sounds more realistic, and I'm only in favor of it depending on what contract he takes. Bottom line, we will break it all down. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the recent ratings and reviews. Thanks for sticking it out through the delay. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to drop us a 5-star review if you haven't yet. Give us your thoughts. We're trying to grow the audio side. We're trying to go to the video side. We are around. You can find us. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. No sponsor for today, I feel like. I don't think so. There will be a new sponsor soon, but we have no deal for anybody. So if you want to tune out, because we don't have a discount for you, we understand. But welcome to the podcast, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, no deal. You just get the Happy New Year from us. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for sticking with us throughout 2023.
Thanks
Hell
for
of a year.
us. Yeah.
Yes, we've gotten stuck as well. So thanks for sticking it to us. Thanks for sticking with us. 2023 was an amazing year. We had such a good time with you guys, and now it starts fresh right now. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to cram it in because stuff's moving fast here. Yeah. I think at any moment now we're going to see the market start to kind of avalanche, especially after all of these other bigger deals have gotten out of the way. The holidays are now out of the way, so people are getting back to the grind on the free agent and trade market. Look at today. Harrison Bader signing with the Mets on a $10 million deal. We're moving, baby. But the bigger news is, I guess let's just kick it off to the top here with Blake Snell. Last night, John Heyman runs a column, talks about Snell and the Yankees, saying how the Yankees now need to take a semi-calculated risk after losing out on Yamamoto. And although I will say I've been advocating for this for a while, that the Yankees rotation really is not that bad. Yes, it does need reinforcement. This is not a World Series rotation yet, right, but you can get by having the guys that you have, testing out the young talent in the early going. Baseball America ranked them the 13th best rotation in the league.
Fangraphs has them at 13. Fangraphs has them at 13 right now, and that's with Will Warren and Clayton Beeter. Beeter in the 5, Warren in the 6, and they only project like 140 innings from Clark Schmidt. Probably correctly so, because he's never topped last year was his career high by 100 innings. But yeah, that's ahead of the D-backs, who signed Eduardo Rodriguez, went to the World Series with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. They have them 14th. They have the Rays 16th. It's not a total disaster for the Yankees right now, but it not being a total disaster hinges on Nestor existing and Carlos Rodon not being the worst pitcher in baseball for 12 starts or whatever he provided last year. We're going to need 28, and we're going to need them to be good. Mm-hmm. Garrett Cole, it's not rude to say a little bit of regression would be anticipated. You win the Cy Young, you're going to probably regress a little bit. You don't get better every year. But way too much talk about the Yankees losing a lot of innings. They lost Luis Severino's innings, the certified worst pitcher in baseball. They lose Domingo Germán's wildly inconsistent innings. And if you take out the perfect game, he's got a 5-ish ERA. They lost a lot of very subpar innings. They just lost Michael King, who was a starter for 4.5 weeks. And they lost some guys who had become acceptable bullpen pieces by the end of the year, and Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito. But like you said, no one is fist pumping and screaming that the Yankees are a World Series team, book it, guaranteed. If they have Vasquez or Brito at the back of the rotation instead of Warren, they would have needed some reinforcements anyway. They're in the same spot they were at the end of the year. Solid. The metrics like them more than the eye test, and you should probably add some people.
Yeah, definitely have to add some people, but also like the formula here, especially if the Yankees are going to have a top-heavy payroll with all these large contracts. And if you're dreaming of a impending Juan Soto extension, if that happens, I don't think it's going to happen, but a mega deal in free agency, you're going to have to trust some of your young talent, especially on the pitching front, because what's the next most expensive thing besides Juan Soto and Aaron Judge? It's starting pitching. And we've known that with the Garrett Cole contract, the Yoshinobu Yamamoto sweepstakes, even with paying for Carlos Rodon. But now get to talking Blake Snell. Look, here's the thing. The Yankees clearly earmarked $300 million this offseason to spend, right, on Yamamoto. I understand that was going to be a 10-year deal. I understand that his free agency was a little bit unique, or a lot bit unique, because he was entering his age 25 season. But clearly, you can spend money if you were going to spend $300 million. There are, like I said, there are different factors there. You have the international marketing factor, which probably brings in revenue. But Heyman talked about how Garrett Cole is reportedly on board with a Snell acquisition. He reiterated that Aaron Judge and Blake Snell have a good relationship. We've alluded to that in the past. People made fun of us for that for whatever reason. I don't know why.
My favorite people making fun of us was Judge like never uses social media. He put up a picture of him and Blake Snell hanging out after the Padres came to New York, and Snell's numbers at that time were not good. So we wrote about how the Yankees might have a buy low option on their hands with Aaron Judge's friend Blake Snell. And then he goes on to win the Cy Young. So like, congrats to Blake Snell. He turned things around. People were recirculating that in like December, like buy low. It's like it was written in May. So
written in March, I think. It was like after his first, it was earlier than that.
I mean, so you can't just, that's the freezing cold takes. Like that account still pisses me off. Like, sometimes they're great. They're very funny 3% of the time. But mostly it's either screenshotting someone's opinion that ended up being inaccurate, like, oh, got him. Like, he had a thought. It was wrong. Or it's just out of context stuff like that. Like, Blake Snell, really? A buy low? Yeah, in March he was, and now he's not. So great screenshot.
So anyway, Heyman reiterated that and then added Garrett Cole into the mix. Garrett Cole, typically, I think we would agree, a soft-spoken guy, but if he's now getting in the front office's ear, we would all view that as a giant positive and obviously a great influence. And then you had, I believe, a week earlier, right before the new year, Chris Cotillo of Mass Live talking about how contenders in the Snell market are kind of collectively pivoting to a short-term high AAV deal with opt-outs for Snell. Look, I understand there's a lot of pitfalls with him. I don't know what opt-outs would do. He just won a Cy Young. How much better are you going to do to be like, oh yeah, I'm opting out now when I'm 32 instead of 31 or 33 instead of 32. But if there is a possibility of a short-term high AAV deal on the table, that would be something the Yankees have to jump on, in my opinion, because it doesn't hamstring them long-term financially. They'll have money coming off the books each of these next few off seasons that are coming up, so they'll be able to absorb the hit. And in theory, if things don't collapse, you have Garrett Cole, you have Carlos Rodon, you have Blake Snell in their primes for the next 2, 3, 4 years, if it lasts that long. I'm still a Nestor Cortez guy. I know he's got longevity from that perspective, a longevity perspective to further prove, but he's still a good starter. And then, like I said, you have to trust some of these pitching prospects. The Yankees hung on to the pitching prospects that they liked the most. That was the resounding messaging from the Juan Soto trade. They did not get rid of their most, in their eyes, prized pitching prospects and prized pitching assets, which I like criticizing the Yankees a lot. It's a great time. It's very easy. But if there's one thing I trust them with, it's evaluating the pitching talent, whether it's in the minors or whether it's in the major leagues. So I will also view that as a resounding win. And that's where we're going to ring in the positivity, because that's where they do their job well.
I have next to no interest in like 7 years and $230 million of Blake Snell.
No.
Because you look in a fantasy world where the
Yankees
whatever,
I don't care.
No, I mean, in a fantasy world where the Yankees absorb every deal, then of course, great. But they're going to hold these things. They're going to hold each deal against the other one. They're not as embarrassing as the Red Sox. They're not signing Giolito for that pretty hefty sum of money, which is a thing that a team with a lot of money to spend does. Like, hey, who cares about $19 million? Like, we're going to get 180 innings out of this guy, and they might be 4.9 ERA, and they might be 3.4. And if he's bad, whatever, at least he soaks up innings. But then to go, hey, we're trading Chris Sale to clear that money. Oh, smart move, but we're eating 17 million of it. What? And then, hey, we can't sign any more free agents, and we're telling them we need to get rid of more money before we sign anybody else. Then why'd you sign the Lucas Giolito deal? Why'd you sign that? The Yankees aren't that bad, but they do operate in the same way. They've let Giancarlo Stanton's fat chunk of money hamstring them for a half decade. So I'm not one to just sit here and say, get Snell, get Montgomery, get them both. Take your $300 million you're going to spend on Yamamoto, go spend $320 on those dudes or $340. There's no better feeling, though, than when you think you have a big expenditure coming and then it doesn't pan out. And then you're like, oh, my God, now I can spend way less on that other, just fruitless thing I wanted. Like, if you think you have to pay $450, I just had this. I thought I had to pay $450 for a hotel. I booked the hotel, and then I realized that I don't get charged till I go. So I'm going to pay that in September. And then I was like, oh my God, it's $400 I have to spend this month? All right, I'm going to buy a hat. Like, that's kind of what the Yamamoto Blake Snell thing feels like. It's like, obviously someday I have to spend that money, but it's like, oh, I was prepared to spend $300 million. Now I don't. I'm going to spend 3 years and $90 million on Blake Snell, who makes me better immediately and makes Garrett Cole happy and makes Aaron Judge happy. We still have to sit here and wait and see if this is Scott Boras using the Yankees, because Scott Boras always uses the Yankees. And the Heyman column that was like, if I'm the Yankees, oh boy, do I ever spend on Blake Snell to make some noise. It was very weird. It was weird to read that. But then for Andy Martino to say that Snell's interested, and for the short-term high-AAV thing to come out, for the cold nugget to come out, it does feel like more and more, hey, this might be actually a serious pursuit, even though like last week we read that the Yankees had done their homework, quote unquote, on Snell and weren't interested. Maybe that was their signal to Scott Boras to say, not at this price, not at this many years. It's just typically been the Yankees thing to say, let's stretch it out rather than let's condense it. Like DJ LeMahieu, let's pay you over 6 years instead of 4 or 5. So for them to suddenly see the error of their ways and realize their spending power and be like, we could just blow Blake Snell out of the water on a 3-year deal. I would be impressed if they did that, but surprised, because it's more likely for them to be like, let's pay him $40 million less and make him play for us for 8 years, which has repeatedly lowered the luxury tax bill, but also left you with, used up assets way down the line. And if it's actually on the table, Snell for like 3 years at a huge amount of money is currently my favorite option. Jordan Montgomery was my favorite option, but that was someone I thought the Red Sox might be clearing payroll for. Now it seems like that's less likely. The increasing likelihood, people said the Yankees were in love with Montgomery, wanted a reunion. Jeff Passan said that yesterday, as recently as yesterday afternoon. But now, if pro-Snell, anti-Montgomery stuff is coming out, it's coming out because of Scott Boras, who controls both of those players' markets. And it's probably coming out because the TV deal that was preventing the Rangers from doing what they should have done the whole time and giving Montgomery their World Series hero, the deal he deserved, seems to be sorted out, or at least on the way towards not being so much of an impediment. And that's presumably why Montgomery would be, leaning toward. Why wouldn't you want to stay where you just won a World Series, where you've been valued more than you've ever been valued anywhere else? His wife and her medical program being in Boston felt like, hey, he should probably go to Boston. And if he doesn't, I guess he should probably target the Northeast. But Texas has been home. Texas has already been home recently. I'm sure they have something worked out if he can find a way to return to Texas. And if he does get a long-term deal, this is just one of those 6 or 7 years of control. Certainly she can end up in the Dallas area if he does settle there for the rest of his career. This feels like the spot if Texas can make it work. And if they seem to be getting closer to making it work, then that explains the tilting scales a little bit here.
Yeah. Also, the Rangers local TV deal is gaining steam.
Yeah.
So that's going to help with the revenue that they're, I guess, able to spend this. But I mean, crazy enough that you win a World Series and then you're still not spending any money. I know that there hasn't exactly been the greatest crop of free agents for the Rangers to jump at, but Jordan Montgomery just won you a World Series. He's clearly somebody who is in a very good age range to last a bit longer. He doesn't really come at a prohibitive price. So odd how it's taking that long on the Rangers front, but yeah, we've always thought this was a long shot. I know you like I like the idea of the reunion too. It would be cool, but there's just too much that happened, and it feels like more of a waste of time than anything because of the overtures that need to be made to kind of make the whole thing palatable once again.
I refuse to entertain it just because Brian Cashman, stubborn son of a bee, he just went to the GM meetings and screamed at everyone for criticizing the way he runs the Yankees. That's all he did, right? He had a platform to like talk about his plans for the future, and he was like, "You're a weasel, you're a snake, you suck, we rule." And it was like, okay, another reminder of like what's going on in his brain. You really think that he was about to enter this offseason and be like, Plan A, $300 million for Yamamoto. If it doesn't work out, Plan B is me apologizing and giving Jordan Montgomery a bunch of roses and then also spending more than half the Yamamoto money to sign him. Like, the fit makes sense. If you need it, he's like Lucas Giolito, but presumably more consistent, more talent, but he's not a one or a one. Lucas Giolito's ceiling is still higher than Jordan Montgomery's, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd say that's a good argument. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's a talking point for perhaps another day.
Montgomery just feels solidified as like a 3 that can win you a game on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But not a 2 and not like a person who leaves the opponent's teeth chattering, but like someone you definitely want on your team. Giolito is more of a roller coaster.
Yeah, more roller coaster, and it's the tale of two seasons, right? You have Montgomery finish the year getting traded, responding to the criticism, winning a World Series, and you have Giolito who gets traded twice and gets worse and worse and worse, and then presumably has no market or a very limited market. So yeah, it's you look around too, like let's talk about it right now. Frankie Montas getting $16 million from the Reds. No! I'm all for spending money. There is a point that is reached, and this is it. Frankie Montas took $12 million from look, he earned the money. He's played baseball in his career, and that's what he earned through arbitration. But he made 8 starts and earned $12 million over the course of a year and a half. He straight up took money from the Yankees. If there was a reunion here of any sorts, it was going to be a cheap 1-year deal where he rebuilt his value kind of in good faith because he presumably lied upon acquisition about his shoulder injury.
Seemed like it.
Seemed like he lied. Seemed like the Yankees didn't do, Brian Cashman claims that they did the due diligence when he was yelling at the reporters at the GM meetings. Whatever happened, he had a previous shoulder injury. He got traded to the Yankees. The shoulder injury happened again because it wasn't too much, but it wasn't too far in the rear view before the trade happened, and then it kept him out for a year and a half. So something happened that was a little bit fishy. At any point, either way, if you're getting him as a depth starter after him again not pitching for a year and a half, he was going to be had for under $10 million, in my opinion. The Reds viewed that as an opportunity for them to spend a little bit more because they have less money on the books, and then they can free up, I guess, some room after this season with a 1-year deal. Great. I don't think the Yankees have that bandwidth. I mean, technically they do, but that's not an asset that you spend money on after you got burned by him and he hasn't been on the mound long enough. So I don't know. Is anyone blaming the Yankees for this? I haven't really seen too much criticism about it. I thought that it was pretty much well received by everybody. It was great. Let him go there. But we're also there's been some chatter about criticizing the Yankees for not spending in free agency. They spent $45 million in 2 trade acquisitions. They got better. They were in on the second most expensive free agent on the market, and got to the finish line and just didn't win the sweepstakes. Outside of offering 75 more million there was nothing they could really do. And then you look at the trade market. Actually, do you want to talk about Montas? I know you've had some feelings.
Well, just a little bit to say that this was my wake up call moment of like, oh, this offseason might be like really effed. Like Lucas Giolito didn't do it for me because I was like, I'd heard that he was going to command close to a $20 million AAV, and shout out to Robert Murray on the Baseball Insiders, who I know is going to take a victory lap on today's show.
He called that?
He said that and got laughed at by the chat because the chat is mean and he's the insider. And then he got 19.5 million. But Giolito, I don't know. Giolito finished in the top 15 Cy Young voting 3 years in a row from 19 to 21. He's been really bad for 2 years, but there were no injury issues there. There was just awful pitching. So I get that contract. Lucas Giolito, I thought maybe he was going to be a 3-year 50 or something, but there was no need for a 1-year pillow. Montas didn't pitch last year. And so we were penciling him into the Yankees rotation as their 6th starter and the last resort depth piece, because everybody was saying he was great at the facility and the Yankees worked with him to get him that 1 inning in KC so he could feel good going into free agency, remember what life was all about. But he'll be available on a 1-year, $8 million deal with incentives to get it to 10 or 12 or even 14. All these, maybe it'll be $6 million base with all these escalators, because he knows he's an all-star talent, but he's going to have to take a significant pay cut this year. And then he didn't at all. And then he made $16 million from a Cincinnati Reds team that is in the playoff hunt with young talent like Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz, and almost got a wild card spot last year. Their goal this year is to compete theoretically by blending that cheap talent with some veteran stars and getting a wild card spot and seeing what happens. It's been a very common internet joke to say, can't wait for the 124 win Dodgers to get bounced in the DS by the 87 win Reds, because people think the Reds are pretty good, a little frisky, and could get you to that 87, 88 wins and make some annoying playoff noise. They're the ones, they have $16 million lying around for Frankie Montas. So that was the moment when I was like, okay, the Yankees need pitching, or they're not allowed to leave this offseason without more pitching. Their rotation might be better than we think, but that doesn't mean you need to add major league caliber innings to this rotation, and they need to be better than Luis Severino. This makes Severino's contract look like a bargain. How is Frankie Montas out here making $16 million? How are the Yankees' backup options out here making $15, $16 million? There's no logic that says that they won't add to the rotation. And everybody, Andy Martino today said the expectation is they come away with one additional arm. We could use this to go into the trade market a little bit, but you would think that they would know that they can't strip down the depth in the Juan Soto trade and then respond to that by not doing anything on the other end. But that's what they did when they traded Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader. They added Montas and didn't add a second pitcher. So they went, you get a pitcher and then we get a pitcher. That's not how you build depth at the deadline. It was nonsensical they did that. You would have thought they would have picked a lane at last year's deadline instead of trading for just Keenan Middleton. Even if you didn't believe in bigger than Rodon, surely you thought they would have spent after Rodon. They didn't do anything. There have been so many logical things they haven't done since 2019. So I just want, until they actually make a move for substantial innings, trade market, Montgomery, Snell, because the rest of the free agent pitching market is pretty bleak. Sean Manaea would interest me a little bit, but Rich Hill would not. I tweeted a list of these guys, Dakota Hudson, bleak. So they're gonna have to add innings somehow, and it's probably gonna be the trade market, but they've already used up a lot of their trade assets on Juan Soto. So just next year's free agent starting pitching market is much better, but you can't just kick 2024 into a trash can because you wanted to finish third on every free agent. I think that's Andrew Friedman's rant, and it's my rant. You're rational on every free agent, you'll finish third on every free agent. Yamamoto didn't want them, but you might have to be irrational on one of these guys.
Yeah, and they have the ability to be irrational in free agency. Trade market, different story. Let's go there. We just went through all the free agents. Report from Passan, Ken Rosenthal. Either way, it was somebody big. That the chances of Corbin Burns and Shane Bieber being traded are dwindling. Why? Because both of those teams reside in relatively weak divisions. They're presumably could be considered the favorites heading into the 2024 season. Neither team is in a rush if they are not getting what they want in return for what they would deem a very valuable asset, especially if they still have time to move them at the trade deadline, which is when teams get really desperate and will give up what they need at that point. When you consider the expanded playoff field and the need for pitching in general. And I know it will only be 2-month rental for those, but we've seen what the prices are on that. And if you're not satisfied with what you're getting in the preseason for a full year of somebody, then you can get very much close to what you want when the trade deadline arrives. So that's bad news. And then you have this Dylan Cease chatter, which is just it's crazy. There was a proposed trade on SNY last night by Jim Duquette.
Dylan Cease 4.58 ERA last year, 1.418 WHIP, by the way. So if you're laughing at Giolito, which a lot of people are, Dylan Cease had almost the same year with more whiffs. But the Ks per innings, both of them excelled, more Ks than innings pitched. Both of them have pedigree, but both were bad last year.
Yeah, Dylan Cease has had a walk problem his entire career. He averages 4 walks per 9 innings. He strikes out a good amount. He led the league in walks twice. One was the shortened 2020 season, but still, again, never a 200-inning guy. Most he's ever thrown in a single season is 184. I understand he comes with 2 years of team control. I understand he's entering his age 28 season. But if you think for 1 second that the New York Yankees are giving up Jason Dominguez, Chase Hampton, Will Warren, and Brock Selvage, which is the proposed trade package from Jim Duquette on SNY that is circulating on the internet that people are reading, this is like Newsmax's version of trade proposals.
The Orioles one that I've been seeing too is it's 3 top 100 prospects. It's Heston Kjerstad, Basalo, and another guy. And it's how about one? How about you start with one?
How about one? He's going to have escalating arbitration costs. I know what he's going to he's probably going to be 10-ish million this year. He made almost 6 million last year. And then the third year of arbitration is the biggest escalator for any player. I understand there's ace potential here. He's really he's a talented guy. No one's denying this. I would take Dylan Cease on my team tomorrow. You cannot justify that trade package when he has had 1 season with a sub 3.91 ERA. It came in 2022. It was a genius season. 32 starts, 2.2 ERA, 3.1 FIP, 1.11 WHIP, second finish in the Cy Young voting. Nobody's knocking that. 227 strikeouts, like you said, in those 184 innings. I'm not denying that talent, but you followed that up with a 4.58 ERA and a 1.42 WHIP. If you're going to tell me that every player who has a hot year or has a hot first half of the season is now a major commodity on the trade market and a major commodity at the trade deadline because of the turnaround, then you can't justify this trade package for the step back Dylan Cease took in 2023. And I don't care how bad the White Sox situation is. I understand that it's toxic. I know a lot of players' performances have been affected as a result because things are not good over there. But if there's one thing, baseball, in a sense, is a very individual sport by taking care of what you need to take care of in your job, starting pitching especially. You get the ball once every 5 days. If you can't deliver on that front, then that means there's other factors at play. And Dylan Cease's body of work, as he's shown flashes of brilliance, there has not been enough here to justify 3 top 100 prospects for 2 years of control.
No, it's getting really dark out there, and I haven't even been entertaining Dylan Cease. Jesus Luzardo is interesting to me. I would still not trade this package, though. Jason Dominguez is off limits. Spencer Jones is off limits. Find another way to get it done. Sorry. Just absolutely not. Like, I have to go all in on 2024. I have to get innings, but I'm not so much of a believer in the resurrected Jesus Luzardo, who everyone on the trade market comes with warts. There's no one perfect on the trade market. But that's the reason I want to pay money for people, because the trade market is full of people who are either being overvalued or who are being properly valued, that the Yankees just can't go for that because they just traded a bunch of top-level prospects for Juan Soto. They don't have an overflowing farm.
Yeah.
The Dodgers can make a Luzardo trade right now, and they should. But the Yankees can't.
And the price for Luzardo, yes, you get 3 years of control, but again, the guy 1 season with over 100 innings pitched. The Yankees perpetually have pitching injuries, longevity issues, oscillating guys between the rotation and the bullpen. 1 season where Luzardo has made more than 18 starts.
And that's why the Jesus Lizard is available, because the Marlins know that too.
Yeah. They're selling high, 208 strikeouts last year. I'm not denying the talent on this man.
Yeah.
I would take him on my team in a second. Am I paying?
Say it to his face. Say it to his face, dude. Deny his talent, man.
Baby Jesus Luzardo, I would take him on my team in a second. I'm not trading assets to deplete the rest of my roster or farm system for, again, a largely unproven commodity. This is just where the discussion gets insane. And where people get wrapped up. They hear someone's name, hit the trade market, and then it's like, oh no, we have to get him. And it's like, have you read anything outside of what the last 2 weeks has shown you on the internet? Like, they made a smart deal in getting him for Starling Marte at the trade deadline in 2021 from the Oakland A's. It was a shrewd move. Now they have a Rays exec running the show there now, right?
Yeah, that's the one issue with the Marlins too, because Kim Ng was our best friend, even though we tried to do a Gleyber deal and couldn't do it. Like, I know Kim Ng valued Gleyber Torres. There are rumors she valued Oswald Peraza. I don't know what Peter Bendix from the Rays, who's now running the Marlins, values. So we want Edward Cabrera for Oswald Peraza. Call it in. But I'm just a man sitting in my chair looking at a bobblehead. I don't have that relationship. I can't do that. So my knowledge of how the Yankees and Marlins fit together in the puzzle is completely different than it was last year. I knew that they could come to terms. I knew that they could dance around it for a while and then look each other in the eye and say, look, you like Gleyber Torres. We know you like Gleyber Torres. You like Oswald Peraza. We know you like Oswald Peraza. Now I don't know what they value at all. So Edward Cabrera is a risk and a half, right? He's someone you're going to hear about eternally from teams that are, every smart fan base thinks they're the ones that figured out that Edward Cabrera has a nasty changeup and has a walk problem. Spoiler alert, all 30 of the teams in Major League Baseball, all of your fans figured out the same thing, and they're all trying to get Edward Cabrera to their team. 99 and 2 innings last year, 118 Ks. Very good. 4.24 ERA, 1.8 WAR. The changeup is disgusting. He fits Matt Blake's profile. The walks are crazy. 66 walks in 99 and 2/3 innings. Not a finished product. Not someone I want to trade Gleyber Torres for at this point in time anyway, because I'm not subtracting offense from a team that's trying to win with a good lineup. But Peraza, who right now is a backup infielder and you need to give to get, yes, I would do that. I would give him up in the same way that I would give Everson Pereira, take the risk, give Pereira to the Guardians for Shane Bieber. But the Yankees don't seem to be interested in Bieber. They already did their Guardians trade. We don't know how the Yankees and Marlins match up anymore. And that's why you get to a dark place where people are like, Patrick Corbin's contract? I don't know. Pitcher wins don't matter as much as they used to, but Patrick Corbin has led the National League in losses for the last 3 seasons. 21, 22, and 23. That is not a contract I want to entertain eating. People are talking about Kyle Freeland. People are talking about Brady Singer. The names are getting crazy because everyone knows the Yankees have to add talent in some capacity. There is no perfect fit, so why not just do the thing where you pay money for the imperfect fit instead of sacrificing important top prospects and overpaying via trade?
Yep. You know what I would do is sign Cody Poteet.
Oh, yeah. Cody Poteet was top of my wish list, too. Congratulations to the Yankees for committing their first free agent money today on Cody Poteet.
$750,000. I know nothing about this guy except the fact that he has options, and we know what the Yankees are going to do with him. He's going to be he's going to be on the Scranton shuttle, my friend.
Rent, don't buy, my king.
So now what? They are, was that 38 coming into today?
Well, they just also claimed Bubba Thompson. So that's probably Bubba Thompson, a minor league stolen base merchant who hasn't hit the big league level. I think that's probably going to be all 40 on the 40 man.
Yeah, that's 40.
And then we'll lose Bubba Thompson soon, and we'll lose Jeter Downs soon, and then we'll keep these pitchers for a while.
Yeah, but that obviously means any free agent signing would have to come with a corresponding roster move. You would assume any trade that's happening, they're going to deal from the 40-man roster. But again, very few trade candidates out there. It doesn't seem like Snell's market is necessarily moving right at this moment. Just shut the door, dude, and do 4 years for 120. Would he accept that? I don't know.
If he's privately talking about being a Yankee and he has Aaron Judge's ear and Garrett Cole is pushing for him, then he certainly should do that. Endorsements too. Endorsements in New York. The Yankees would have the 2 reigning Cy Youngs in the same rotation. You would get a pretty fertile season out of that, I would say, regardless of whether it works out or not. I would also say Blake Snell, not a perfect fit for a lot of teams. People concerned about, big strikeout, high pitch count, a lot of walks. He goes 5 innings and leaves. Like, that stinks. The Yankees can weather that storm. Like, the Yankees build pretty strong bullpens year in and year out. They'll take 5 elite innings at the start, followed by 4 innings of bullpen every 5 days, if they can count on a little more longevity from Rodon and a little more from Cole and build a deep bullpen. The Fangraphs projection was also really good and really thorough, but had Luis Gil projected for like 18 innings this year.
That's not right.
I think he's going to throw 50 or 60, and I think he's going to be a pretty effective member of the bullpen.
Yeah, you got to remember you have. Let's pull up the 40-man so we can look at this a little bit more intensely.
We will pull up the 40-man, then we're going to scream about Chris Sale, and then we are going to sign off today.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear that, please stick around because we got some. We might go 45 minutes. We can't. We literally can't, but we might.
We got Clayton Beeter, Luis Gil, Yoendrys Gomez, and I think that's it.
Well, Matt Crook, you might be cat food soon.
Matt Crook, yeah. So like these are guys that I'm viewing, and you obviously you factor in Will Warren and Clayton Beeter when they get to the roster, but you have to get people off the roster in order to get them on. Those would be candidates to piggyback starters in any capacity. If Blake Snell can only go 5 innings, one of those guys comes in for 2 or 3. One of the starters gets knocked out early in the game. Those guys come and finish it off and preserve the bullpen. So there should be plenty of ways to go about this. You have arms that need to get major league innings under their belt. You have arms that need to get any type of experience possible. Doesn't matter if it's in a traditional start or it's a spot start or it's following an opener or whatever it may be. These guys need the experience. They need the exposure, and there's going to be ways to do it. I know the Yankees aren't the greatest at managing that. We've had our issues with Aaron Boone and workload stuff, but if you have a rotation in this situation, in theory, with Cole, Rodon, Snell, Clark Schmidt, Nestor Cortez, that should be enough.
Warren, Beeter, Gomez.
Yeah, those 5 should be enough. Yes, someone's going to get injured. Yeah, but that should give you enough length. And I know there's issues with Snell because he's never gone over 182 in his career, but he's hit 180 like 3 times, and quite frankly, that's good and that's enough. And again, to win 2 Cy Youngs, you need the high leverage ability to pitch like that. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the marquee starts where you have to win that nationally televised game, or where you have to you need a slump buster, or you need to win games down the stretch, or you need an October start. That's what you're paying for. You're not paying for Blake Snell to go 6-7 innings every 5th day during the regular season. So that's another important note here. That's what we're separating what you're paying for and how you're paying for it.
Yes. And interesting point by our friend, the Simon Eddy source. Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell last year, it's 20 starts of 6+ innings versus 21 starts of 6+ innings. It's not exactly a 5-and-fly, not exactly a 5-and-fly guy. Well, the Yankees were reportedly planning an active January, and guess what? They fucking better be, because they need to make some signings, and spring training is in February. So I appreciate that report. We'll examine its validity over the next several weeks. Again, we will be here every Monday and Thursday, 2:00 Eastern, until in perpetuity. We're going to hopefully have some guests on soon. I'm going to work on securing a big one next Monday to join us, give us updates. If not next Monday, maybe the Monday after. But we're going to have some good guests coming up soon. Let's talk about Chris Sale leaving the division. We have like 5-6 minutes here just to say, look, I get it. Smart for the Red Sox to clear some cash out, but they didn't clear that much cash out. They ate $17 million to clear 10.5. Chris Sale, also not a long-term commitment. This was his final guaranteed year. They really like Vaughn Grissom, the Braves prospect they got, formerly the Braves' #1 prospect, someone whose exit velocities don't necessarily match up with his results, and his results in the bigs haven't been very good. Maybe Vaughn Grissom is your second baseman of the future, but it kind of seems like he's just a guy who's being thrown in that mix. The Red Sox are probably going to have an active January where they maybe trade some of that infield prospect depth for some pitching. But like we just said, the controllable pitching is kind of it's kind of Edward Cabrera, or maybe it's the Mariners guys if you really want to overpay. I just don't know. All I know is that Chris Sale is gone, and that rules, because that guy is a malcontent, and I refuse to justify his behavior. And he's one of the most annoying rivals we have ever had, because losing to a man who is that big a shithead is sort of you rattle that around in your brain for like 24 hours afterwards. You're like, not only did we get embarrassed, not only did we get emasculated by somebody's breaking ball, but it's that guy. That guy gets to feel good, and I get to feel bad. That feeling is horrible. Vaughn Grissom seems like a nice guy. I'm sure I'll eventually hate losing to Vaughn Grissom too, but there's nothing like getting Chris Sale the fuck out of here.
No, this is one of the worst, one of the most hated Red Sox, and it's crazy how I feel like it's a little bit like he's an underrated, hated Red Sox. Like, he should be a lot more. And I think the reason being is because he's kind of been irrelevant for 4 years.
Yeah, people started crying about the extension, acting like he was never good. He came in like a buzzsaw in 17-18. They gave up nothing for him. Yeah, they gave up Michael Kopech and Yoan Moncada for him, two people who would not have impacted our lives if they were in Boston. They got just a fire-breathing, all-time talent type ace with an attitude that needed adjusting, in my humble opinion, when he stepped off the mound, but on the mound, unparalleled.
Yeah, he had his 2 best seasons of his career in 17 and 18. He, I know he only threw 158 innings in 2018, but then he was the driving force in that postseason coming into close. He closed out the World Series. He closed out the DS against the Yankees.
He's like if Blake Snell wasn't on Lexapro.
Yeah.
Untamed. But he did throw 226 innings in 2016, 214 in 2017. Then it goes down. Then 158, 147, 102 and 2/3 last year. Red Sox fans told me, though, last year that the metrics were really good in August and September, and that we should be scared of Chris Sale. Now, all of a sudden, they trade him away, and they're like, well, we had to get that money off the books. Again, that 1 year of money, just 1 year, not long term.
Yeah, but couldn't be like this is the Red Sox kind of deconstructing their culture, right? Like, Chris Sale is the perfect Red Sox. He looks like a Red Sox. He acts like the classic version of the grimy and shit talky and insufferable Red Sox. Like, there was that clip from the 2021 ALCS, the fakest playoff run you've ever seen, and he lost that game against the Astros.
His last playoff start with the Red Sox was a very embarrassing loss.
I left my nuts out on the mound. You better believe it. It's like, dude, like, just a try-hard hardo in every sense of the word, destroying those TVs after not even that bad of a start at a minor league facility. He walked gave up 1 run over 3 2/3 innings and destroyed a bunch of TVs, and then tried to justify that behavior by saying, well, it wouldn't have mattered if somebody didn't record me. Acting as if that was, oh man, if I worked at Bank of America, no one would it wouldn't have mattered. Like I wouldn't be in the crosshairs of the public. Yeah, no shit, dude. You don't work at Bank of America though. Why would you ever work there? No one would want you working there. You probably look so bad in a suit. But God, he was just like everything about him. Everything screamed Red Sox about him, and that made him even more hated among Yankees fans. So like, I am so thrilled that he's out of the division. Whatever, go do what you're going to do with the Braves, get your extra 2 years in the extension. I don't care. Win another World Series doesn't matter to me. But if I don't have to hear or see this guy on a consistent basis anymore, gigantic win for me mentally and for the Yankees.
And Nick Pavetta's next, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you're making too much money this year. The Red Sox might look to trade you too. That Chris Sale analogy of like, well, it wouldn't have been a problem if no one had filmed me doing it. Like, yeah, no kidding. But that's like saying you're a public figure. That's like saying, oh, so I get in trouble. It's like Twitter logic. It's like, oh, so I got in trouble for taking my pants off at the movie theater. But if I was a famous porn actor, you would have applauded for that. It's like, yeah, but that's a crazy thing you just said. Like that justifies absolutely nothing. So goodbye to Chris Sale. One of the worst of the worst. Remember when he begged Adam LaRoche to keep his 10-year-old son in the clubhouse? Remember when he sliced up the throwback jerseys with scissors because he was doing civil disobedience?
They were uncomfortable.
Bye. Go to Atlanta, do your thing, and you got extended there already. So if there's a Chris Sale comeback, it will not happen with the Boston Red Sox, and that is great for my personal mental health. We will see everyone here right back here on Monday. Gonna work on a potential guest, and we'll keep you guys updated on that. Probably tweet about it. Obviously, if we're gonna get a guest, we're gonna advertise it. We're not just going to do it in secret. Shout out to everybody showing up again today. A little stilted on the timing up top. You guys still showed out. Still top 30 on the stream. We'll be back again Monday, 2 o'clock, and twice next week. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante. That is Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, currently known as X. Can the people find you on that platform?
Yeah, it's Twitter. It's at Tommy's_takes. It's at Yanks Go Yard FS for the both of us. And then if you're using Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, Firefox, whatever, you head on over to yanksgoyard.com and you get all the off-season content that you need. We're still churning over there. We're having a great time. Everything we talk about here and more in written form, up to date, everything you need to know. Please go on and read. We're having a great time. Again, we appreciate the support. Thank you guys for showing up. Have a great weekend. Happy New Year. We'll see you on Monday. Right.
See ya, everybody. Cody Poteet for Cy Young.